70,000 years ago, humanity nearly went extinct. Only 2,000 people survived. How? If you've ever taken a DNA test, here's what you need to know. All humans descend from the same 2,000 people who lived 70,000 years ago. These people experienced the greatest natural disaster the world has ever seen. The Toba supervolcano eruption was so terrifying that... But wait, let me ask you a question first. Where do you think those 2,000 people managed to survive? Today, I'm sharing the most critical moment in human history. An event 70,000 years ago directly affects every one of the 8 billion people alive today. Because we're all descendants of just 2,000 people who survived those terrifying days. Who were these 2,000 people? Why did they survive? And where does this number come from? Today, you'll learn how modern science answered these questions. But first, let's travel back to that horrific day, 74,000 years ago. Exactly 73,880 years by scientific dating. On Sumatra Island in Indonesia, where Lake Toba exists today, stood a massive supervolcano. Supervolcanic eruptions are 1,000 times more powerful than regular volcanoes. When Toba exploded, its blast force was 3,000 times stronger than all nuclear weapons combined. What happened that day? A giant flash of light. Then a deafening roar heard thousands of miles away. Then the sky went dark. Not for hours, but for 6 entire years. For 6 years, no sunlight. Plants died, animals starved. Temperatures dropped below freezing. This was nuclear winter, naturally occurring. Toba's ash covered the entire world. Scientists find Toba ash even in Greenland ice cores. The eruption's effects reached Africa, Europe, and America. But where were humans? And what happened to them? 74,000 years ago, maybe 1 to 10 million humans lived worldwide. Most in Africa, some in the Middle East, scattered groups in Asia. Small tribes of 20 to 50 people, living in caves, using stone tools, just learning to control fire. Then Toba erupted. All life in Sumatra died instantly. But the real disaster began afterward. Atmospheric ash blocked sunlight. Temperatures dropped 3 to 5 degrees, enough to trigger an ice age. Plants died. Herbivores starved. Carnivores followed. Finally, humans. For 1,000 years after Toba, human population crashed. How much? Genetic analyses show the entire human population dropped to 1,000 to 10,000 people. Conservative estimates say 2,000. 2,000 people. Less than a small town today. How do we know this? It's written in our DNA. In the 1990s, geneticists studied mitochondrial DNA, passed only from mother to child, changing very slowly like a genetic calendar. The shocking discovery. All human mitochondrial DNA traces back 70,000 to 80,000 years, then hits a major bottleneck. As if all humanity descended from very few women. Spencer Wells calls this the bottleneck effect. All humanity passed through a genetic bottleneck exactly matching Toba's timing. Y chromosome research confirms this. Male lineage also shows massive contraction 70,000 years ago. Scientists call it the genetic bottleneck. All humanity squeezed through a bottleneck, just 2,000 people wide. But who were these 2,000 survivors? And where did they live? Dr. Michael Petraglia's excavations in India revealed something surprising. Human traces both below and above Toba ash layers. Some humans continued living in India despite the eruption, but the real secret lay in Africa. At South Africa's Pinnacle Point caves, Curtis Marean's team found human traces from 74,000 years ago that continued after Toba. How did they survive? Seafood. Toba wiped out land life, but oceans survived. Mussels, oysters, fish. Coastal people lived on these. They not only survived, but thrived, making the first jewelry and using paints. Creativity flourished amid disaster. Where were the other survivors? Surviving groups developed special strategies. Shelters, caves, rocky areas, deep valleys with stable temperatures and wind protection. Water sources. All survivors lived near freshwater, river mouths, lakes, natural pools. Food diversity. They abandoned meat-only diets, eating roots, bark, insects, seafood. Cooperation. Small groups merged into larger communities, sharing knowledge and resources. Most importantly, hope. Even in darkness, they made art, painted caves, crafted jewelry, created music. They declared, "We are here, we are alive, and we will continue." How did 2,000 people become 8 billion? The answer? The Great Exodus. 5,000 years after Toba, 65,000 years ago, African survivors began moving. But they were different now, stronger, more organized, more creative. Toba had tested and strengthened them. They crossed to the Middle East, spread to Europe and Asia, reached Australia 45,000 years ago, America 15,000 years ago. They succeeded everywhere because Toba taught them adaptation. Geneticists call this the founder effect. Small survivor groups rapidly multiply in new lands. 2,000 to 4,000, 4,000 to 8,000, 8,000 to 16,000. Geometric growth began. What does this tell us today? Human resilience. 2,000 people reshaped the world, showing incredible adaptation. Diversity's importance. Survivors used varied strategies. Single strategy dependence meant death. Climate change power. 3 to 5 degree temperature drops nearly ended humanity, relevant for today's climate discussions. Cooperation's value. Survivors were collaborative groups, not lone individuals. Crisis as opportunity. Toba nearly destroyed humanity, but made survivors stronger and more adaptive. If you've taken DNA tests, your mitochondrial haplogroup connects you to those 2,000 people. L0, L1, L2 represent African survivors. M and N represent the first migrants. Each haplogroup tells survival stories, collecting mussels, hiding in caves, fishing rivers. Your DNA carries their heroic legacy. Most surprising, these 2,000 people were related. Genetic calculations show any two humans share ancestry within 70 generations. Everyone watching this video is related by about 70 generations. We're all descendants of the same 2,000 survivors. What if those 2,000 hadn't survived? Scientists seriously consider this. Other intelligent species might have evolved. Perhaps Neanderthals as dominant species, or no technology development at all. Or alien visitors would have found an empty world. But this didn't happen. Those 2,000 survived and changed everything. From 2,000 people came pyramids, ancient civilizations, Renaissance, Industrial Revolution, space exploration, all legacy of those survivors. 70,000 years ago, humanity nearly went extinct. Only 2,000 remained. But they showed our species' greatest traits. Resilience, never giving up in hardest conditions. Creativity, developing new solutions and strategies. Cooperation, supporting each other, sharing knowledge. Hope, believing in the future through darkness. As you watch this, remember, you descend from those 2,000 people. Their DNA flows in your veins. Their courage lives in you. When facing difficulties or losing hope, remember, your ancestors survived world-ending disaster. You can survive too. If you enjoyed this, hit like. Those 2,000 people's story deserves sharing. Subscribe for more stories. Until next time, remember, you're a miraculous part of human history.